Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. How's your Sunday been?
Busy,
Well,
preparing for the week.
there's only dead people that have nothing to worry about. So as long as we are alive, we have to be busy.
So,
Abi?
how are you? How are you doing?
Me?
Yes.
I've been chewing through my chat, so and you are responsible for people, you have to be at your best. So let's get down to business. Let's see what we have going into the new week. We're going to start off with the economic calendar. We have high impact news coming in from Tuesday. That's on GBP. That's GBPUSD mixed. Then we have on Wednesday, Aussie, that's overnight. Then we have CAD mainly. Then US on Thursday. Then, well, not so heavy, not so light. Not so heavy, not so light. Now let's get into business and see what we have going into the new week. So going into the new week, move all this. Going into the new week, we're going to start off with the NASDAQ. Well, the NASDAQ is looking bullish to me. It's looking bullish to me. Let's go into the daily setup. If we go into the daily setup, we have a change of market structure here. We have a change of market structure here. And as you can see, this was a retest of that level and price moved away. So now the deal here is price is within a very, very important structure point here. Doesn't mean that this is going to go down. No. What it means is that if you go into the 4-hour time frame, the possibility exists that you may see a bit of a retracement, then a continuation to the upside. Are we still there?
Yes, sir.
What it means is that we might see a little bit of a retracement because price is making new highs. This drop was to peak liquidity here, here, and here. So most likely, this is going to take out here first, then this high, then before we start looking at this point. That's the way I see it. Because this is just a retracement, and then they might continue back to the upside. So the next we're going to be looking at is dollar index. The dollar index for now is still tilting towards the downside. Order flow on this pair is still down. I believe they may be coming for this low. And if this low gives way, then we have this very tiny fair value gap here. There's a very tiny fair value gap here. So if we go into the daily setup, and see it's been very, very chaotic kind of. Very, very chaotic kind of. But I believe this week they are going to sweep this low. Why do I say that? First, like I said, the order flow is on the downside. He's not taking out highs, he's taking out lows. So if you go into the 4-hour time frame, it becomes very, very clear. So about on Friday, it was just like within a range. So if this does not gap down immediately on Monday, let me pull back my annotations. If this does not gap down into this area on Monday, that's when the market opens. If it doesn't gap down, then you might be looking for it to sweep buy side and then continue to the downside. except the only thing that is going to change it is if you see something like this. Then you know that you already have a short-term low at this point. Then price, then you'll be looking at this imbalance on price. But if that does not happen, then they might come for this low. But for now, dollar index is still tilted to the downside. Still tilted to the downside. It has no bullish bias for now. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is Euro USD. Euro USD. This pair, his order flow is to the upside. His order flow is bullish. Let's go into the daily time frame. If we go into the daily time frame, this is where we have a bit of a challenge, because if you look to the left, we have this big up candle before this down move. So we can say that price on the daily is within a bearish order block structure. Although order flow is to the upside, but as you can see, we're having wicks to the upside, wicks to the upside, wicks to the upside. So if you drop into your 4-hour time frame, we can see there is a range here. So this may, I can't say what, it depends on what the dollar index is doing. It's going to do, like I said, if the dollar index gaps down, then this is going to gap up. But if they continue with this range, then you will wait and see what happens. That's just the best play. But for the Euro USD, it has a bullish order flow. So basically, you'll be waiting for it to feel any imbalance and continue back to the upside. All things being equal. The next one we're going to look at is GBPUSD. So looking at this pair, order flow on the GBPUSD is still bullish. Let me remove all my annotations. It's still bullish. Order flow on it, it's still bullish. It's taking out the highs and leaving the lows. If we drop down to the daily, we are within this bearish order block. You can see we're within this bearish order block. And if you look on the daily, within the range of Wednesday's candle. Within the range of Wednesday's candle. If we go down now into our 4-hour time frame and put in our notations, this may retrace a bit. There's a possibility it may retrace. If it retraces it, it may seek buy side before going back up to the upside. And if we look at this pair, it may be trying to, let me see if I can find out where it's. The first port of call is going to be 1.2426, this high. Then we start looking at this structure point here. So that's it for the GBP USD. The next one we're going to be looking at is gold. Gold. Let's start from the weekly. Let me remove all my annotations. If we look at gold from the weekly point of view, it's bullish, but see where it is. Within this massive bearish order block on the weekly. And if you notice, there are also fair value gaps there. Fair value gaps. I don't think it has completely closed this upper one. It hasn't completely closed it. So if we go into the 4-hour time frame, well, it's still bullish. It's still bullish. This is still, sorry, into the daily time frame, it's still bullish. Because if you look at this high price has closed above it. Price has closed above it. So with all these down candles, there was a massive rejection to the downside. So price, this may retrace a bit and continue back to the upside. That's the way I see this. So if we go into our 4-hour time frame, and we put in the annotations, this is what we have. I believe this may retrace a bit as long as it stays above the previous week's high. That's on a daily close basis. This pair might still move up. It's not showing any weakness. Yes, the only thing that would change this view is if we see something like this. then this will now be a bearish change of character on the 4-hour time frame. Then we might see lower prices. But if this doesn't happen, this pair might only just drop, fill in any imbalance, and continue back to the upside. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is EURGBP. EURGBP, this pair has shifted to the downside. Let's look at this. On the weekly, we have this big bearish engulfing candle. If we go into the daily time frame, we can see a change of character here. Liquidity sweep, break of neckline. So this pair is bearish for now. But it's sitting within this structure point here on the daily. So if we go into the 4-hour time frame, what we might see going into this new week is a retracement, probably to fill this fair value gap on the 4-hour. Probably to fill this fair value gap on the 4-hour. Then if price gets rejected from there, then we might be seeing price gone for this low or this imbalance here. But for this pair is still tilted to the downside. Any rally on this pair will be an opportunity for a short. Doesn't mean you can't take a long position, but if you're taking a long position, be well aware that you're going against the prevailing trend. So the next one we're going to be looking at is GBPCHF. GBPCHF is slightly moving back to the upside. If we look at it on the weekly, it's in a range of sorts between this high and this low. That's where price is boxed in. If we go into the daily time frame, we have a break of market structure here, a close above this high. So what most likely we might see might be a retracement and a continuation back to the upside on this pair. So what you just do is, let me see, I'll put in my annotations. Price is within a daily fair value gap. So as long as it stays above 1.1248, which I believe is last week's low, you just wait for it to retrace and then a continuation back to the upside. Because he already,
Coach,
yeah?
is that daily, on that daily, is that guy not inside or is not at the consequent recruitment?
It looks like it's a consequence. That's why I said you see a retracement.
Yeah, I know.
If you notice, I said, if you look at it, it's at the 50%. I didn't put it now, but you just by eyeballing it, you know it's at the 50%. That's why I said you're going to see a retracement. Because EURGBP is going to retrace to the upside, most likely. All things being equal, then this is going to retrace to the downside. So when it now retraces, you then start looking for entry point on it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to start looking for entry points on it. So the last pair we're going to look at is the pound yen, but as I always do, I always like looking at the yen basket first. It never fails to give me a current. So looking at the yen basket, let's look at the weekly setup. The weekly still has a bullish kind of view, but this formation, this is a dark cloud on the weekly time frame, and it's not very bullish. So let's go to the daily. If we look at the daily, well, the daily is still moving higher. Kind of like there's no change in bias to the downside yet on the daily. Now let's look at the 4-hour. If we look at the 4-hour, still the same thing. What price did is that it took buy side liquidity and dropped massively, ran into this bullish order block, rallied, didn't take out this high and dropped. So now the question is, what are they going to do? The highs are still standing. Since it didn't make a new high, I believe we may see price sweep this liquidity this week. If you notice, it has been making new highs. But when it rallied, it didn't make a new high. Instead, it got rejected at this point here. And if you notice this high here, price didn't close above it. Price never closed above it. So that's a weakness of its own. So the first time it didn't, the second time it failed. So what we may see this week is a little bit of a rally and then a sweep of this low. So with that knowledge, if we go into the GBP pound yen, you can see that price rallied, bounced from this bullish order block, took out this liquidity. So this pair, although it's looking like in a kind of a range, but it might retrace a bit, then gone for 162.34. Is where it may go for. The pound, the yen delivered excellently last week. It was an easy move, but I don't trade yen pairs like that, so I was out of the trade.
The weekly fair gap.
Eh?
And that high, that 162.344 looks like the weekly fair value gap.
On which pair?
There's something I saw. This yen pair.
The yen basket.
Okay, that 162 is the high of the fair value gap on the weekly. Where you said there's buy side liquidity. That's yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, here.
Yeah, yes.
Well, it has swept it. This 162.35, this is the drawn liquidity for Misha.
Yeah,
but
that's
on
what
the
I'm saying.
4 hour,
On the
4 hour, there is a fair value gap there. So it may try to close it. I don't know. Because I can't tell what the market is going to do. Okay, but there's a fair value gap there on the daily. So if it takes out this high, then it might move up a bit. If it takes out this high, then it might move up a bit. But for now, it's in a kind of a range. This is the range high, this is the range low. So that's just basically it. So with that knowledge, you on this pair, you just wait for it to retrace a bit and then look for bullish opportunity. So for pound yen is in a range, but it may move higher. The GBPCHF for now is shifting to the upside. So you wait for retracement and a continuation back up. EURGBP, you know that if you're to trade EURUSD and GBPUSD, you must know what EURGBP is doing. If not, you're going to be getting in on some very, very funny trades. So this pair has shifted to the downside. So it might retrace. When it retraces, you wait for a swing high, then a continuation back to either this low or any of this level. Gold is still bullish for now. It may retrace going into the new week before a continuation back to the upside. GBPUSD, this pair is still bullish. If the EURGBP should start to go down, should start to retrace to the upside, and the dollar index starts to go back up, that's the dollar index starts to show strength, this will drop faster than EURUSD. But should the EURGBP retrace and start moving down and you have a weak dollar index, this will be a better long. This will be a better long. So for this pair, for GBPUSD, it may retrace a bit before continuing back to the upside. Same with the EURUSD. The EURUSD is in a range for now. Its direction will depend on what the dollar index does. That's with the dollar index. Let's go to the daily so I can look at this look. If you look at the dollar index, proximity wise, it's closer to this low than to the upside. So the question is, will it gap down, sweep this liquidity and turn the other direction? That's what we can see. But if you look at it on the 4 hour, it's kind of like ranging. It's kind of like ranging. So the next one we're going to look is the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is with a bullish order flow. it has a bullish order flow. So you wait for a retracement and a continuation back to the upside. Any questions? Or is there anybody who want me to look at that I didn't look at? Hello?
No question for me.
Eh?
No question for me.
Okay. Mr. Yewale, any question?
Not at the moment. I'm still studying the IDRs and the DR or something.
Okay. Okay. Bankers. Any question?
Hello, sir. None,
Hello.
sir. I only took some notes.
You said?
Look at the bankers now.
I only took some notes down.
Notes.
Yes.
Okay. 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 So in the absence of any questions, I think we're going to call it a night. The recording will be posted to the YouTube channel, so you can always go back there to refer to because sometimes the way the market runs, the Judas swing might put you off on the wrong footing. But if you always refer to the weekly review, that's the Sunday review, it will always get you in the right track. So I wish everybody a beautiful night's sleep and a blessed and wonderful week ahead. So good night, everybody.